Please don't forget to turn off your microphones, Ruth. Well, so we are going to start with this last session of this module that is related to morphology. Now remember that we are talking about morphology, and we are going to start by making us all the classes with it. So we are going to start by making a review, all right, what we did the last class, no? What we talked about the last class. Can you remember what we talked about the last class? We were talking about morphemes, right? Can you tell me what is a morpheme? Can you remember? Can you remember about it? No, no, nobody. What is a morpheme? So we were talking about a morpheme. Now remember that in morphology, the basic unit of morphology is the morpheme. So what is it? Can you tell me? What is a morpheme? No, no, nobody. Tell me, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. What is a morpheme? Uh-huh, all right, Mary. Yeah, it's related to the meaning. Exactly. What else? What else? No, you're near, you're close. What is a morpheme? Mary says the meaning. Yes. What else? What else? A morpheme. Remember when we talk about morphology, morphology is the study of formation of words, right? How we're going to create or make up words. So when we talk about meaning, so what is that? A morpheme. What is a morpheme? Tell me, please. What is that? No. Just marry. A morpheme. Remember, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna make you some questions in order to differentiate this concept. Could we say that a morpheme is similar to a word? Are they the same? Morpheme and words, are they the same?
No, no, it's not, teacher, the same. The
Uh-huh.
morpheme is the small meaningful unit of the language. It's not the same of the word.
Exactly, that's it. Remember, the morpheme, as Marian Lucy says, is the smallest meaningful unit. Uh-huh. Oh, Diana says a concept. Yes, that's it, Diana. A concept. It has some grammatical information. No, it depends, no, because it also has lexical information. Yeah, that's it. It's abstract, no? A morpheme is the meaningful unit in a language. It's the smallest. Remember, it's the smallest meaningful unit. So here we're going to see it. Remember, they are abstract. We assume that they exist because we're going to use morphs, no? That we use as speakers of a language. So morpheme, remember, is the smallest meaningful unit. Then we talked about another term that is morphs. Morphs, remember, are the materialization of morphemes. So what we use when we speak or when we write, these are the morphs. Remember, morphs are the materialization of morphemes. So as we talked about, morphs is similar to say morphemes to what phones are to phonemes. Now remember when we talk about phonology, so we saw that the phones are any human speech sound, and the phonemes is what we have in mind. This is the abstract unit. Something similar happens when we talk about morphemes and morphs. Morpheme is the abstract, is the abstract part. Is the smallest meaningful unit. Remember, it's the smallest meaningful unit in a language. So we saw this differentiation of three terms related to morphemes. Morphemes, it's only a concept, as Diana says. It has some grammatical information, while on the other side, morphs, it is the materialized morpheme. And we could say that a morph is the phonetic expression of a category or concept. How we do or pronounce this morpheme, no? This is very important to remember. And the allomorphs are the variants that a more has in the phonetic level. So don't forget about it. Yeah, here we have the difference between these three terms related to morphemes. Morphemes is the abstract, what you have in mind. Morphs is what you do, what you speak, what you write. These are the morphs. And the allomorphs are the phonetic, no, phonological variation of the morphemes, the variants, all right, the variations of a morpheme in a phonetic level. No? So here you have morphemes, grammatical information, morphs, phonetic expression, and allomorphs, the variants of morphs. For example, I'm going to give you one example here in order to reinforce this. Let's talk about here this morpheme. Now we are going to talk about one morpheme, and you are going to get it clear. So you know, when we want to make a noun from singular to plural, notice what do we use? We use the letter S, right? We use the letter S. So remember, it has a meaning. This is a morpheme. This is a morpheme because it has a meaning. All right? What is the meaning of the letter S? Plurality. Okay, so we are going to express plurality. All right, so that's why we say that this is a morpheme. So we are going to write it here. This is the idea. Notice this is this plural. So notice this is what you have in mind. This is a morpheme. Remember, this is a morpheme. I'm going to write it here. Morpheme. Okay. The morpheme is the idea, the S, plurality. It has a meaning, all right? It has a meaning. The letter S has a meaning, plurality, grammatical information. Now, what happened when we apply this S in different contexts? We are going to change it. Notice here the examples. One of these, look at this example. I'm going to write one example. For example, here we have the word top, no? Top. You know this is singular, so in plural, top, you add just the letter S, no? You add the letter S. Tops. Tops. All right? Tops. Notice here, yeah? Now, another example. Let's pass here. Now I'm going to pluralize the word toy. Oh, sorry. I'm going to change the color. Toy. Notice, toy. What is the plural of toy? Teacher, easy. You add the letter S, all right? Okay, so we are going to add the letter S. Okay, so here we have toys. Notice the pronunciation toys is not similar to the first case. Toys. All right. Now, okay, teacher, yeah. There is another case of plurality. For example, when we have the word watch, watch, not a verb, watch, the object that we use here, all right, to look at a time, not watch in your hands, all right, on your wrist. So here you have watch. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to change the color. All right, watch. So what do we do? Oh, teacher, S, no. You add ES, right? You add,
Yes.
yes, you add
Yes.
ES, okay? So we are going to write it here, and we add the letters ES. Watch, watches. Notice that we are going to have three variations. Notice, three variations. We know, oh yeah, the S is plural. Yeah, this is the general idea, right? This is the morpheme. But when we use it in different contexts, we are going to produce variations. They are not going to be the same. And more specifically, because of the sound, the pronunciation. So the first one, in the first case, so we are going to use, notice here, we're going to use the sound S, all right? In the second case, notice, we're going to use the sound Z. And in the third case, we're going to use the sounds, all right? Here we have two, the sounds is. So notice, when we use this morpheme, the morpheme is the S, no? Plurality, all right. But when we produce, we materialize, notice, when we materialize this morpheme, this abstract idea, and you put it into practice, you apply it, so we are going to produce different forms. Ah, okay. You write, in most of the cases, you write the same, no? But teacher, this S tops letter S, toys letter S. But when you pronounce, you say in different forms. The first one tops with S, the second with Z, toys. And the third, notice the third, you produce is. Watches. I'm going to give you another example in order to get it clear on the third example. Yeah. Let's imagine that I'm write a word rose. Notice rose. Ah, okay, rose. Oh, teacher, yes, you are the letter S. No, you are the letter S. There's no difference, teacher. No, no difference. But there is a difference. You write with the letter S, but you don't pronounce roses, no. You say roses. So what do? You pronounce the sound is. Is. So here you say roses. All right? You say roses. So notice here, you are using three different forms, but it's just one morpheme, the morpheme of plurality. But when you apply this morpheme of plurality, you are going to have different forms according to the phonetic or phonological context. When we talk about phonology, we saw this, no? How do we call this process? This is the process of assimilation. Assimilation, you are going to change one sound to another sound to make it similar, all right? So top finishes in a voiceless sound, pa, pa, no vibration, pa, pa. Okay, the S is pronounced like this, tops. Toy, okay, toy. What is the final sound of toy? Oi, it's a vowel sound, and all the vowel sounds vibrate. Ah, okay, so the S that you write, you have to make it in a vibrated form. So what is the vibrated form? Z, toys, toys. And the other, teacher, you add ES or S. Notice we have the two cases because you could say, but teacher, it's easy. ES, so you need to produce two sounds, no? Is. But notice the example of rose. Rose, you don't pronounce the letter E. You don't say rose. No, rose. But when you make the plural, you pronounce the letter E. Roses. Roses. So notice the different forms. So each of this, notice, each of this is a morph. These are morphs. And remember, these are morphs. We are going to call this morphs. Remember, remember, these are morphs. All right? That's that z, that is are morphs. The materialization of the morpheme. Notice here, morphs. And all of this, the three, all right, the three of them are allomorphs. So all of them, oh, sorry. all of them, notice here, oh, I erased one of them. Sorry, I'm going to write it again. So all of these three morphs are allomorphs. Why do we call allomorphs? Because these are variations. Notice, these are variations of the morpheme. So I'm going to do it again. Yeah, here it is. So this, remember, these are allomorphs. We call this allomorphs, the physical variation, the phonetic variation, notice here, the phonetic variation of the morpheme. All right, notice here we have the three terms, the difference between morpheme, morphs, and allomorphs. Morpheme, the abstract, the general idea, what you have in your mind, the representation, mental representation. Oh yeah, it's a plurality. It indicates plurality. But when you use it, when you use it, when you speak, it's more specifically when you speak or when you write, here some spelling changes, no, es, no, you most of the time you write s, but there are some cases that you need to add es, no. So we have some changes on the spelling and principally in the pronunciation. So we have three different variations. So each of these are morphs. The z, the z, the is are morphs. If these morphs belong to the same morpheme, so they are called allomorphs. All right? So now you have it clear? The difference between these three terms. Now remember, we have these three terms, morpheme, morphs, and allomorphs. Don't forget about it. Something similar happened with the ed. This is another morpheme, right? Can you remember ed? What is the representation of the ed? So I'm
Has.
going, exactly. It's the past, no? Past simple regular form, no? The regular form. So you have three cases too. Oh yeah. So here you pronounce like ta, like the, and like it. Okay? And you follow this same rule, no? Ta when the final sound is voiceless. The when the final sound is voiced. And it when the final sound is here the sound ta or da. For example, in this case, when do you pronounce is? When the final sound are sibilants. What are the sibilant sounds? The sound s, z, sh, j, ch, j. When we have these sounds, you pronounce is. Watches. What is the final sound of watch? Ch, ch, watches. What is the final sound of rose? Rose, z, roses. Notice here that you have the sibilant sounds. So remember, we have 6 sibilant sounds in English. S, z, sh, j, ch, j. So we have the sibilant sounds. When we have the sibilant sounds, so you need to pronounce the rose, roses. All right, rose, roses. So we have this rule. Remember, with a past simple, then we had a plurality, then we had a present simple tense, third person singular. You add the s to the verbs too, so you apply this, and the apostrophe s to talk about possession. All right, you apply that same rule. And remember, this is a morphophonological rule because you combine for morphology and phonology. It's a combination, all right? It's a combination. It's the relationship between phonology, sounds, pronunciation, and the meaning, the morphemes. And notice this is a correlation between these two aspects of the language. All right, so this is referring to these three different terms. Don't forget about these three different terms. Morpheme, abstract, the general idea. Morphs, the materialization of the morpheme, right? How we use it when we write or when we speak. And the allomorphs are the different variations in a phonetic level of the morpheme, as you could see here, no? The plural morpheme has three variations, three phonetical variations. So these are the allomorphs, and these are the allomorphs, and don't forget about it. Okay, now let's continue with the next part. So we saw this, no, the different parts of the meaning, how we can divide a meaning of a word. A word can be composed by one morpheme, two morphemes, and so on. No, boys, for example, it has two meanings, no, two morphemes. Boy, it's a young person. That express plural number. Live means life, and the ed is the past tense. So here we have these morphemes. Then we talked about the different types of morphemes. And notice here the different types of morphemes. We have two major lexical morphemes that are called lexemes, and grammatical morphemes that are called morphemes as they are. All right? Lexical morphemes are called lexemes. Grammatical morphemes are called also morphemes, just morphemes. So lexical, remember, are composed by words. You know? These are, oh, they belong to the open class words. You know? We have nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives. They can have a derivation process. We can generate more words from this root, from the base word. On the other side, grammatical morphemes are formed by suffixes or prefixes or particles. Notice they don't have derivation. They produce, no? Some of them produce derivation. No, when we use suffixes and prefixes, we are producing derivation. But most of the time we produce inflection too. No, we produce inflection. The lexical morphemes are open because they are unlimited. Remember, we are going to produce more and more and more lexical morphemes through the time. More nouns, more verbs, more adjectives, more adverbs. But on the other side, grammatical morphemes, they are not going to increase. We have just a set, a set of words. Here says that we have about 200, all right? And remember that lexemes are the smallest units of lexicology, and morphemes are the smallest units of morphology. No, so here we have the difference between. No, we saw this in order to explain the difference between lexical morpheme and grammatical morpheme. No, read is the lexical morpheme. It has meaning, a concept, an idea. All right, the action to read. The S has a meaning too, but grammatical. Notice the first one has a lexical meaning because it has a concept. You can define the word, all right? You can give a definition of the word. Oh, what is read? Oh, the action to look at a book or a notebook, not to read, the action to read. But the S, can you define the letter S? Can you give me a definition of the S? No, right? We have an idea, we have the meaning that but it's a grammatical meaning because it represents plurality. All right. In this case, sorry, it's the present simple. It's indicating a grammatical case. No? The present simple tense in third person singular. Notice this is the meaning of this S when we use it here with the verb. No? Present simple, third person singular. So it has a grammatical value. It doesn't have a place in a dictionary. All right. You cannot find in the dictionary the letter S. No, doesn't appear, right? It doesn't appear in a dictionary. But on the other side, read, oh yes, you can find it in a dictionary, right? So here you have this. Now notice the difference, and notice the difference between a lexical morpheme and a grammatical morpheme. Now, for example, here you have this, dog. Dog is lexical or grammatical?
Lexical.
That's it. This is lexical, no? Dog, it has a definition. Lexical?
Grammatical.
Grammatical.
Exactly. Grammatical. This is a grammatical morpheme. Notice, dog is a lexical morpheme or lexeme. An is a grammatical morpheme or just morpheme. No, we cannot call it lexeme because it's not a lexeme. It has just a grammatical function. No? ER, lexical or grammatical?
Grammatical.
Grammatical.
Yes, that's it. Grammatical morpheme. House.
Lexical.
Lexical.
Exactly. Lexical morpheme. And brother,
Lexical
Lexical.
too.
lexical. That's it. Very good. Very good. So notice here, notice here the difference between lexical morphemes and grammatical morphemes. Lexical morphemes belong to open class words. No, we can increase more words. We can make more words. No? On the other side, here we have the grammatical. No, we have just a set of morphemes, a group of morphemes, and they are not going to be increased. All right, so don't forget about these two types. Oh, sorry. These two types of morphemes, because now we are going to talk about another types of morphemes. Now we are going to talk about morphemes according to their appearance. How can they appear? By itself or using another part? Notice these other types that we saw are related to the function. No, what is the function of a thing? If they have a lexical, what kind of information or meaning they carry? No, if they have a lexical meaning or grammatical meaning. So according to their function. Now we are going to categorize morphemes according to their appearance. How can they appear in a sentence or in a word? By themselves, or they need to appear with other parts? So when we talked about it, so we are going to have two types again. The first one is called free morphemes. As you can see, free morphemes are words that can stand alone, or morphemes that can stand alone as words. They don't need other part to appear as a word. Just this morpheme and that's it. So we call this free morphemes. They can constitute a word on their own. These are lexical morphemes and consist of words carrying content of the message. For example, here we have boy, house, tiger. So remember, free morphemes could be lexical morphemes. And they are also functional morphemes. They consist of the functional words in a language, such as prepositions, articles, conjunctions, and pronouns. So a free morpheme could be lexical or functional. Remember, lexical or functional or grammatical. No, remember that this functional is similar to say grammatical. Now, lexical, they could be lexical or functional or grammatical morpheme. Lexical belong to the open class words, no? Nouns, verbs, adjectives, all right? Adverbs. So these are the lexical free morphemes. They can stand alone as words. Remember, they can stand alone as words. But we have on the other side grammatical too, because we have some prepositions, conjunctions, articles, pronouns, determinants. What's the difference? They don't carry the content, no? So we saw this, we talked about this in a previous class, no? We are going to divide words in two types: content words, function words. That's why here says functional morpheme. Yeah? Content words, we have four: nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So they are the content word because they have a content. They carry the content, the message. But on the other side, we have the function words. What are the function words? Prepositions, articles, conjunctions, pronouns, determiners. So they don't carry content. They don't carry a message. They just serve as a connector. All right? That's why we call them function words, and they are functional morphemes. So in order to get the relationship, why do we call functional? Why? It's not grammatical. Why functional? Because they belong to function words. Remember, function words. They don't have a definition. Can you define the preposition of? Can you give me a definition of the preposition of? No, right? It's not possible to define the preposition of. Or can you define the conjunction and? Definition, not translation. Don't get confused. Teacher, and, e. It's a connector. Yeah, you used to connect two phrases or two sentences, but it doesn't have a definition. Can you define a car? Yes, which is a vehicle that we use it to move to different places. Or you could say it's a mechanical device, no, composed by wheels, engines, and so on. So they have a definition. This word has a definition, car, but of doesn't have a definition. It has just a grammatical function. In order to connect the content words, you use some function words. So that's why here it says functional morphemes. Remember, so we have inside of free morphemes, we have two types, no, that we have seen before: lexical and functional morphemes. Remember, they can appear alone. They don't need other parts to appear as a word. All right? They can constitute, as in the second sentence says, they can constitute a word on their own. That's why we call free. All right? Free. They don't need anybody else. In our context, I'm free, so you don't need anybody. All right? So this is similar. No, free morpheme. So they don't need any other morpheme to appear as a word. The other type of morphemes are called bound morphemes. Bound, remember, is connected, not connection. It's a ligament, no? This is the literal meaning of bound, no? When you are connected or something is connected to something, to another thing. So bound morphemes, they must appear with one or more morphemes to form a word. Notice, they cannot be alone. They need other morphemes to appear as a word. This is the principal difference between free morpheme and bound morpheme. Bound morphemes cannot be alone as a word. They cannot appear alone as a word. They need one or more morphemes to form a word. Bound morphemes cannot be a word by itself. For example, you have this. Happy, notice here, I'm going to write. Happy is the, oh, it's too big. Just give me a second. Yeah, here it is. Happy, notice, is the free morpheme, because you can write happy alone, right? You don't need any other thing to write happy as a word, right? Happy. But notice the previous part, an. An is the bound morpheme. This is a bound morpheme. Oh, sorry, I'm going to write it again because here we are crossing. Yeah, an, it's a bound morpheme. Remember, an is a bound, and happy is a free morpheme. Okay? So here you are. All right? So happy is the free morpheme and an is the bound morpheme. Can you write an by itself? An. Imagine that we don't have happy. An. Can we write it alone? An?
No.
No, yes. So it's not possible. It's a morpheme. No, to a teacher, but an doesn't have a meaning. Yes, it has a meaning. An has a meaning? Yes. What is the meaning? Not. That's why when you say unhappy, means that you are not happy. All right? It's similar to say sad, no? Unhappy, sad. It's a synonym, right? So, but you're using a bound morpheme. Notice this word is composed by two morphemes. One is bound and the other is free. Notice the other, unhappiness. Unhappiness is composed by three morphemes. One free, all right? One free, that is happy, and two bounds, right? Two bounds morphemes. So we have here two bound morphemes, and ness. So we have these two, no? Bound and ness is a bound morpheme. Notice we have three morphemes. This word unhappiness has three morphemes. One free, that is happy, and two bounds. And ness. Can we write ness alone? No, it's not possible. If you want to write ness, you need another morpheme to appear as a word. Happiness, loneliness, no? Oh, don't forget about your audios, please, your audios. Okay, thank you. So here we have this morphemes. The other one, quickly, quickly, quick, again, quick is the free morpheme, no? Quick is the free morpheme, and ly is the bound morpheme, no? Bound morpheme, ly, to make adverbs, no? We're making adverbs with the bound morpheme ly. Quickly, free, bound. Faster is the same, no? Faster, fast is the free morpheme, no? Free morpheme, and is the bound morpheme. And notice here, bound morpheme. All right? Oh, what happened? Okay, Yolanda and Yuri. Okay, maybe the connection. Yeah. So did you understand what's the difference between these two type of morphemes, right? So we have, oh, who's talking? Yolanda, please, your microphone. Okay, thank you. So notice here, now we are talking about the different types of morpheme according to their appearance. How can they appear? Some morphemes can appear alone. They are called free. And some morphemes cannot appear alone. They need other morphemes to appear. So they are called bound. Bound morphemes. And notice here the difference between these two morphemes. Generally, bound morphemes are affixes. So which are the affixes? Prefixes and suffixes. All right? So they are usually affixes. The bound morphemes are usually affixes. I say usually, not always, because there are some bound morphemes that are not affixes. They are roots of words, but they are not so common. They're just a few. But most of the time, the bound morphemes are affixes, prefixes, suffixes. Notice here, we're using the prefixes and suffixes. When we talked about the prefixes and suffixes, Remember that we have infixes and circumfixes. No? In English, remember that we don't usually use infixes, but I show you some few examples, no? Few examples of infixes, no? Bloody, no? Incredibly bloody, bloody. So here, in order to exaggerate, no? To emphasize, no? So you use this, but it's not so common, no? In English, as a general rule, a grammatical rule, English doesn't have any infixes. In a colloquial language, no? Remember that when we talk about grammar, no? Prescriptive and descriptive, no? Prescriptive, if we talked about prescriptive grammar, no infixes. But when we talk about descriptive, we could use some infixes because it's colloquial, no? Also, we could find some circumfixes. For example, it is considered, but it's not as a circumfixes is. But here we could say that happiness is composed by circumfixes because we have both sides, not both sides, but it seems to be. It's not exactly a circumfix. So in English, we mostly manage the prefixes and suffixes. They are bound morphemes. Remember, they are bound morphemes. So remember, bound morphemes need to be part of a complex word to make sense. So we are going to make complex words. No simple. Simple is happy. Simple word. But if you add prefixes and suffixes, you make this simple word into a complex word. No, oh, unhappy, unhappiness. So you are making a complex word. Adding prefixes and suffixes. All right. Okay, let's continue with the other part. Oh, sorry, my drawings. Yeah. So let's see. We are going to have here a summary of the morphemes. Notice that we have lexical morphemes and grammatical morphemes. No, we have these two types, no, general types, according to their function, no? If they carry, what kind of information they are carrying. If they are carrying a lexical information or a grammatical information, no? The function of each morpheme. So we have two, lexical and grammatical. In lexical, we have free and bound. Remember, into the lexical morphemes, we could find free morphemes and bound morphemes. So we can find free lexical morphemes and bound lexical morphemes. In grammatical, we could find the two types again. Free grammatical morphemes and bound grammatical morphemes. Notice the examples. Free lexical morphemes, we have the nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. Remember, content words. Remember this name, content words. Nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. These are free lexical morphemes. Bound lexical morpheme, as I told you before, we have just a few cases. We don't have a lot of cases in bound lexical morpheme. They are part of a root, the base word, sept, sept, concept, intercept. And notice that here we have concept, intercept. So sept here is a bound morpheme, but it's part of a root. Remember, it's part of a root. I don't know, you can remember the first slide that I showed you the last class, no? When we talk about morphemes. Here, convention, no? Convention, young. Notice that we have three. So here we have bound morphemes, no? Bound morphemes because they are part of a root word, all right? But this is, as I told you, a few cases. Accept, vent, young, no? This is just a few, not just a few. Most of the time, the lexical morphemes are free. Most of the time, they are free. Lexical morphemes are mostly free. That's just a few cases which are bound. Grammatical, let's pass to the grammatical morphemes. So we have two again, free grammatical morphemes bound grammatical morphemes. Free grammatical morphemes are the function words. Remember, function words, prepositions, determiners, conjunctions. Notice something important. The in order to clarify, no, because in the previous slide when we talk about lexical and grammatical, lexical morphemes are called lexemes, and grammatical morphemes are called morphemes. Notice in general, because there are some grammatical morphemes that are free too, no? Such as prepositions, determiners, and conjunctions. And we have more here, no? Auxiliaries, no? Pronouns, possessives, no? All the function words, no? All the function words. Remember, we have 4 content words: open, and then we have close, that are the function words, no? Preposition, determiner, conjunctions, interjections. So they are called function words, and they belong to the grammatical morphemes because they don't carry a message. They don't carry a definition. All right, remember, this is a principal difference with the free lexical morphemes and free grammatical morphemes. All right. And the bound morphemes, we have what happened? Yeah, okay. It was a little slow. The bound morphemes, bound grammatical morphemes, we have inflectional, derivational, infixes, circumfixes. As we saw before, we call them the affixes, not prefixes, suffixes. We call them inflectional morphemes, derivational morphemes. Then we are going to talk about more about it. The type of grammatical bound morphemes, inflectional morphemes, and derivational morphemes. And as I told you before, if we talk about morphology in general, we have infixes and circumfixes. But in English, remember, in English, we don't have infixes and circumfixes. And we have a kind of circumfixes, but they are not exactly circumfixes. And we also use some infixes, but they are not according to the grammatical rules. No, they are just in a colloquial way. All right. Okay, so notice this is the summary of the type of morphemes. Remember, 2 major, lexical and grammatical, and then we have free and bound morphemes according to their appearance. No, how can they appear in a word? No, by themselves or not. No, this is the principal difference between free and bound. Free, they can appear as a word by itself. Bound, no, they need other morphemes to appear as a word. Okay, so let's start with this exercise. Identify the following morphemes are lexical or grammatical, bound and free. Let's start with the first one, re. What is re? Lexical or grammatical? Tell me, tell me.
Grammatical.
Grammatical, yes. Grammatical, bound or free?
Bound.
Bound, excellent. So re, no, because it has 2 pronunciations. Yeah, re, so with a short e or with a long e. Yeah, re, so it is a grammatical bound morpheme. Now I'm gonna give you the opportunity to write. Ahora ustedes van a escribir, ¿no? Ustedes tienen en el Zoom un icono que dice anotar, no sé si lo pueden visualizar, para que ustedes puedan escribir. A ver, vamos a ver, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Yeah. Can you find it? You know how to use it? Yes? Let's see, Diane, can you write the second? Diana Roque, can you write a second?
Ok, a ver, voy a intentar.
Yeah, okay, okay. Try it on. Ajá, muy bien, ya estoy viendo tu nombre. I can see your name.
Okay, here is grammatical
Ajá,
bound.
ajá,
Okay.
exactly. Write it, please.
Oh,
Oh,
teacher, can
I like
write.
So you have here a box. I don't know, you can say a toolbox, and you have the icon of the letter T. So when you press the letter T, you can write as a test. Can you find it?
I use cell phone, teacher.
Oh, you're with a cell phone.
No.
Okay. Yeah, don't worry. All right.
Uh-huh.
Any volunteer to write it? Any other volunteer? So Diana was okay. Grammatical bound. Any who could write it or no? You're using just your cell phones? Yes, everybody? If not,
Yes, we are in cell phone.
okay. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. So I'm going to make it. So you are going to tell me now. Yeah. So you say it and I write it. Okay. So as Diana says, ER is grammatical and bound. Grammatical and bound. Oh, someone wrote it. Yeah. Okay. Who wrote it? I couldn't see the name. It was so fast. Who wrote it?
Zoraida, teacher.
Zoraida, yeah. Zoraida, can you make the other one, son?
Okay, teacher.
All right. Lexical and free. Yes, very good. Very good, Zoraida. Lexical free. Yes, this is a word and it is a lexical and free morpheme. Remember, it is a lexical morpheme and at the same time it's a free morpheme. Okay, so what about this? Tell me, please, tell me this.
Lexical, teacher.
Yeah, Fiorella?
Yes, teacher. I'm going to write.
Okay, Fiorella, yeah, write it.
Um, free.
Yeah, lexical says Fiorella. All right. Free. Yeah. Do you agree with Fiorella?
No, teacher.
Why not?
This is grammatical because this
Excellent.
is
Because?
I think is conjunction. No, or
No. It's not a conjunction. It's a
determinate.
Determiner. Yes. It's a determiner. It could be, no, this is a demonstrative, no? This is a demonstrative. So we call this a demonstrative pronoun, demonstrative adjective, no? For example, when you say, this is my house, this is a demonstrative pronoun. But if you say, this house is mine, so you use this as a demonstrative adjective. So demonstratives, remember, demonstratives are called determiners, and they are grammatical. These are not lexical. Remember, Fiorella, lexical are lexemes, content words. Lexical, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Remember this, Fiorella. Lexical are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. This is not a noun. It's not a verb. It's not an adjective. It's not an adverb. Okay, so this is a grammatical word. It's a function word. So that's why here you could say that this is, yes, that's it, Fiorella. Very good. Grammatical free. Yeah, it is free, yes, because it can appear alone, but it's not lexical. Okay, very good. Now, any other volunteer to write about the word or? Oh, don't worry, Fiorella. That's it. Very good. Thanks for your participation. Yeah, or anybody could write about or?
It's a grammatical bound.
Grammatical bound. Are you sure?
For me, it's free.
Yes.
Grammatical free.
Grammatical free. Why?
Like conjunction.
Exactly.
Or is a connector.
Yes, that's it. It's a function word, right? It's a function word. So this is grammatical. I'm going to write it. Grammatical free. That's right. Very good. Very good. Yes, grammatical. Yes, grammatical free because it's a conjunction. All right. It's a conjunction. Lexical. Remember, you have to get into mind this. Lexical morphemes are content words. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. All right. Okay. Any other volunteer to tell me about
I want to participate,
All
teacher,
right,
but
Ruth.
I don't write.
Yeah. Tell me orally, and I'm gonna write it.
And is grammatical and is bound.
Aha. Yes, that's it. Grammatical bound. Perfect. Perfect. That's it. Excellent. What about the other one? Any other volunteer that you could tell me orally and I can write it? Huh?
Yeah, is grammatical bound too?
Uh-huh. That's it, Lucy.
Grammatical
Grammatical
bound.
bound. Yes, you are right. Uh-huh. Grammatical bound. Excellent. And the last one, it's easy. The last one,
Lexical.
Yolanda? Yes, Yolanda? Oh, yeah,
Yes,
sorry. Yeah.
lexical, lexical.
Yeah, lexical. Uh-huh. Lexical
And free.
free. No, yes, that's good, Soraya, too. Lexical and free. That's it. Very good. So notice lexical because pen is a noun. Son, it's a noun. So notice here, why do we call this lexical morphemes or grammatical morphemes? So notice here these types of morphemes. So we have grammatical and lexical because of their function, the meaning, the kind of information they are carrying, if it is a lexical information, a lexical meaning, or a grammatical meaning or grammatical information. And on the others are according to their appearance. If they can appear alone, free, or they cannot appear alone, they need other morphemes to appear, they are called bound. All right, very good, very good. Thanks for your participation again. All right, now let's continue. We have to continue. Oh, don't forget to turn off your microphones, please. Ruth Solis, turn off your microphone. Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's pass to another one. Now we are going to talk about the inflectional morphemes. Remember, when we talk about bound morphemes, we're going to have inflectional and derivational morphemes. So, what are the inflectional morphemes? They are morphemes which permit a word to agree with other words in its context in order to show the internal grammar, notice, the internal grammar of a sentence. This is an inflectional morpheme. So we are going to show agreement with other words to show the internal grammar of a sentence. And we use it a lot. We have just a few cases. In contrast to the derivational, we have just a few cases, but we use it a lot. They cannot occur freely and all then have meaning that is easily understandable only in relation to at least one other morpheme. So here it says that they are bound. Notice, they are bound morpheme. They cannot occur freely. And the meaning is understandable in relation to the other morpheme, all right? You can understand the meaning if we have the other morpheme. The inflectional morphemes can only be suffixes. Notice here, bound morphemes could be prefixes or suffixes, bound morphemes. But the inflectional morphemes are only suffixes, not prefixes, suffixes. They occur at the end of words. For example, book, books, plural. Writes. The S for present simple, third person singular. Playing. The ing, present participle. Remember, this is called present participle. The ing is called the present participle. So we have just this example, but we have more. English, for example, you use these inflections, no, because it's also called this process, the inflection, to express ideas like tense, number, or comparative. So we are going to use these inflections to express these ideas, no? Ideas of tense, number, and comparisons. English has 8 inflectional suffixes. Can you tell me? And you could see the examples, some of them. What are the 8 inflectional suffixes in English? Tell me, please, tell me. You have seen some of them.
ing,
One,
ed,
two,
est, ing, I say.
yeah,
ing,
4, no more.
I think it's es,
Yeah, the S, plural.
yes. Yeah. Another
5,
st, almost in
yeah,
st.
EST, ER comparisons, not to express comparisons.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
or
No.
it's not. It's er is
Yeah,
not.
ER, yes, ER. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
you have
I
6. Yeah,
tell.
all right. Okay, that's good. That's good, Lucy. Okay, so here we are. Now, we are going to analyze these 8 morphemes, 8 inflectional suffixes. Remember, these are inflectional suffixes, and at the same time, these are inflectional morphemes. Huh? Oh, Diana?
Oh, see you, teacher.
Diana? Oh, I don't know what happened with the Diana's
ER,
microphone.
EST comparisons.
Yeah, to compare, no? We use this to compare, no? Comparative and superlative. All right. Yeah, so we're going to continue. Sorry for the interruption. So we were talking about, can you watch my slides, right? Yes? Here you are, the 8 inflection, and you were telling me the inflections that we have in English. So we are going to talk about these ones. Remember, we have the word class. We are going to analyzing according to the word class, the inflection, the grammatical function, and you're going to see some examples. All right? Let's start with the first. Here we have a word class, noun. What is the inflection? The S. What is the grammatical function? Plurality, no? It marks plural, grammatical expression of number. The examples, we have birds, notice the allomorph, birds, rules, you write S, but you pronounce Z, rules, rules. So this is one of the inflection related to nouns. Notice here, we have here 2 cases of inflections related to nouns. The other is the apostrophe S. What does it mean? The apostrophe S, can you tell me?
Possession.
Excellent. Excellent. We're talking about possession. The meaning, notice the meaning of this apostrophe S is possession, grammatical expression of case. So here we have James, Z. You write apostrophe S, but you pronounce Z, James car, the car's tires. So notice here, this is the second inflection. This is the second inflection that we have. The noun, we have 2 cases of inflections related to nouns. The S in plurals and the apostrophe S to talk about possession. All right? Now, what about the adjectives? Notice here, in adjectives, we also use inflections. We have 2 cases. adjectives and also adverbs, no?
Like,
Here we have ER.
like,
Please, the microphones. Yeah, ER. Notice that we use ER to compare, no? Comparative. We are going to use this to compare two things, no? Two people, two places, and also two actions. We talk about adverbs, no? A coyote is smaller than a wolf. Notice here, this is an inflection. Remember, this is an inflection. Then we have another case that is the EST, as you told me. EST, adjectives again and adverbs. So no, but more principally two adjectives. Marks adjective for use in the superlative structures. So again, you are showing comparison, but in this time you are comparing one to a group, right? One to a group. So here you have this comparison. Notice this is another inflection, all right? This is another inflection. You say that sweetest things, sweetest, sweetest things. So notice here that we have these four cases. Now we have, or we are going to watch four more, but two are related to nouns, plural and possession. Two are related to adjectives to compare, no? To compare things in a comparative form or superlative form. Now, the other four cases of inflections are related to verbs. The first one is the famous ing. Marks verb for using progressive or use as a noun. Notice that we could use this structure in a progressive or continuous form or tense, and also is used as a noun, and we call it gerund. All right, the famous gerund. So we have I'm studying. Notice this is in a continuous or progressive form. I'm studying, but you could use it as a noun, as a subject. Studying is hard work. And notice that we are going to use this structure as a verb, and also is it used as a noun. All right, but mostly as a verb, no? In a continuous or progressive form. Another one is the famous ed. Ed marks the past tense. We celebrated, everything stopped. Notice here, we celebrated, everything stopped. So this is in regular, no? This is in regular. Another ed, remember, that is the perfect aspect, the past participle, right? Or we could use it in passive voice. Notice the examples. Summer has arrived. This is present perfect, right? How do we make the present perfect? We use the verb have or has plus the verb in past participle. Regular, ed. No? Past participle, regular verbs, ed, similar to the past simple. And also, this is used to make passive voice. A suspect was arrested. This is a past simple passive voice. So notice that we are going to use this structure in these two contexts, no? To make perfect aspect or passive voice. And finally, we have the S. No? The S marks third person singular verb in present tense. Subject-verb agreement. No? Subject-verb agreement. That makes me happy. The film starts at 8:05. Notice here, the S is indicating present simple, third person, singular. With the famous in simple words, he, she, it. The technical word, present simple, third person, singular. But in simple words, with the pronouns he, she, it. That's it. And you add the letter S. So notice the 8 inflectional suffixes that we use in English. Remember, We have first two related to nouns. Which are the two related to nouns? Can you remember? Which are the two related to nouns? What are?
Plural,
Uh-huh.
S, and apostrophe S, possessive.
Excellent. That's it, Ruth. Excellent. Two related to adjectives or adverbs. Which are they?
Comparative.
Uh-huh. And
Comparison.
yeah, comparisons. Yeah, they are divided in comparative and
Superlative.
superlative. The ER and EST. No?
EST.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Very good. Very good. So here we have these two structures. No? Adjective or nouns, two, adjectives, two, and here you have four for verbs. The ing, the ed for past simple, the ed for past participle, and the s for present simple third person singular. So these are the 8 cases of inflection. The process is this, inflection. The 8 cases of inflection in English. We use inflectional suffixes or inflectional morphemes. Now remember that these are morphemes. What kind of morphemes? Inflectional, what kind of affixes? Suffixes, not just suffixes. Inflectional morphemes are just suffixes. Now, let's pass to the other one.
Teacher,
Yeah, tell me.
sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
And adverbs,
Mhm.
there are inflectional.
Yeah, comparative and superlative. You use the comparative and superlative too in adverbs. More
This is
quickly when you say,
adjective.
yeah, adjectives are mostly used, but you could also use it in adverbs too. More, we don't talk about here a adverb because it's the same structure, no? ER, more, EST, the most, no? For example, you could say, he runs, no? He runs more quickly than the other person. More quickly. Notice, no more quick. You say more quickly. It's an adverb. And
Yes.
you're making a comparison. So you're using inflection, right?
Yes,
For example, ER, it's also used. Yeah, it's also used. Don't forget it. Remember that ER is used with more when it has more than 2 syllables, right?
Yes, teacher, yes.
Exactly. That's it. And don't forget it. Don't forget it. All right. So these are the inflections. Now let's go to another type of morpheme, derivational morphemes. Notice here, derivational morphemes. Derivation is the formation of a new word or inflectional stem from another word or stem. Stem, remember, the word stem is similar to say root, the basic form of the word. Now this is a stem. In other words, it's the process of creating new lexemes from another lexemes, adding a derivational affix. Notice here, affix. So it means that it could be a prefix or suffix. This is the difference with inflectional morphemes. Inflectionals are just suffixes. Remember, inflectional are just suffixes. Derivationals affixes. So it means could be a prefix or suffix. Now, it typically occurs by the addition of an affix. The derived word is often a different word classes from the original. This is the case that mostly happens, no? That we are going to change that type of word, no? Word class or type of word. So we are going to change that type of word. Most of the time, because there are some times that you're not going to change the type of word, but you change the meaning. All right? You're going to, no, you're not going to change the type of word, but you could change the type of meaning. So let's see. Oh, Carlos is arriving. Yeah. Derivational prefixes and suffixes. Notice this is what I told you. A derivational morpheme could be a prefix or suffix. Inflectional morphemes, just suffixes. Don't forget about it. Prefixes in modern English usually change the meaning. Notice, they change the meaning, but not the word class or parts of a speech of a word. That's why I told you before, no? Most of the time, the derivational morphemes change the type of word most of the time. But there are some cases that they are not going to change the type of word. They are going to change the meaning. Which are they? When we use prefixes. For example, this is what I told you before, no? I wrote this example before. Happy, adjective. You add the prefix an, and it's an adjective too. You don't change that type of word. Adjective, happy, and happy, adjective too. But what are you changing? You are changing the meaning. All right? Happy, oh, yeah, it's a glad person, yes. Unhappy, oh no, it's a sad person. So you change the meaning. You add a prefix and you change the meaning. You add a derivational, notice this is a derivational prefix, derivational morpheme. This is another difference with the inflection. Inflection, when you use an inflectional morpheme, you don't change, notice, you don't change the type of word. You're just adding a grammatical information. You don't change the meaning of the word. You add a grammatical information. But here, when you use derivation, notice, when you use derivation, you change mostly the type of word, but in other cases, you change the meaning, as you can see here, no? Using prefixes. Do, redo. So you have to do it again, no? You have to do it again. It is a verb. Do, a verb. Redo, a verb. So you don't change the type of word, but you change the meaning. Confident, adjective. Overconfident, adjective. You don't change the type of word, but you change the meaning. Bike, a noun. Mini bike, a noun. But the meaning is different. Eh? Now, what happens when we use suffixes? In modern English, often change the word class part of a speech of a word. Most of the time. Notice, most of the time. Because there are some times too that you don't change the type of a word. Let's see. Happy, notice, happy is an adjective. And you add the suffix ness, happiness. Now this is a noun. It's not an adjective. You are changing that type of word. All right? You are changing that type of word from adjective to noun. Mostly we use this ness to make abstract nouns. No? Happy, happiness is an abstract noun. Lonely, loneliness. Sad, sadness. Notice from adjectives. No, we mostly use this suffix with adjectives to make it into abstract nouns. Happy, happiness. Sad, sadness. Lonely, loneliness. Mad, madness. Notice you're making nouns. So you change the type of word from adjectives to nouns. More specifically, abstract nouns. Do is a verb. You add the suffix able. Also, you change the pronunciation to doable. Now it's an adjective. Remark, remarkable. From verb to adjectives using able. That's why when we talk about how to recognize that type of word, one of the cases that you can recognize that type of word is noticing the structure of the word. Ah, ness. Ah, yeah, it finishes in ness. Oh, it's a noun. Oh, it finishes in able. Ah, it's an adjective. Oh, it finishes in ly. Ah, it's an adverb. Notice you don't need to look up into the dictionary. Oh, what type of word is this? A noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective? I don't know. You can analyze the structure, the composition of the word, and you could identify what type of word it is. As I told you, nis, this word finishing nis, it's a noun. It's not an adjective, it's a noun. Oh, this word finishes in able, it's an adjective. This finishes in li, an adverb. And notice, because of its composition, you can identify the type of word. Confident, adjective, confidently, adverb. Now, notice here, this is the other case. As I told you before, most of the time, derivational prefixes and suffixes, mostly the suffixes, they change the type of word. But there are some cases that you're not going to change the type of word, but you change from thing to a person. Bike, biker. Notice, bike, biker. So from you first, you're talking about a thing, and then you're talking about a person. You are changing here. You're changing here the word, all right? So we call this, remember, we call this derivational morphemes. Derivational morphemes could be prefixes and suffixes. Don't forget about it. So don't forget about the difference between inflectional and derivational morphemes. Inflectional, we have just a group of inflectional morphemes, 8. Remember, in English, we have just 8 inflectional morphemes. Derivational, we have a lot. There is a huge list referring to derivational prefixes and suffixes, all right? So you can have a lot of suffixes and prefixes in order to use as a derivation process. No? The other is that inflectional suffixes just give grammatical information. Remember, they don't change the type of word. They just give grammatical information, inflectional morphemes. Derivational morphemes, they change the type of word or they change the meaning of the word. All right? So notice the differences between inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. Now, we are going to pass to another topic related to the formation of words. Now, remember, morphology in general is related to the formation of words, how we are going to make words. And we are going to use some processes to do that. And we were talking about some of the processes. For example, in the previous, when we talk about derivational, inflectional, we call this affixation. So let's see what the processes are. As I told you before, affixation is one of the processes that we use to create words. A base is expanded by the addition of a prefix at the beginning of the base of a stem. Now remember, stem is referring to the base word. Oh, just give me a second. Somebody is trying to enter. Okay. And conditional. So you add. You add. Condition are also you are adding here all. Condition, conditional, and conditional. So you're adding, notice you're adding and you're creating words. You are creating more words from a base word or a stem. You add prefixes and suffixes and you're creating more words. Or a suffix at the end, happy, happiness. So this is called affixation. And this is one process when we use affixes, prefixes and suffixes. And we talked about the different kind, derivational suffixes or prefixes and inflectional suffixes. For example, here we have some prefixes, negative prefixes, an, unfair, or a, immoral. Reversative private prefixes, defrost, this content, pejorative prefixes, misinformed, or pseudo-intellectual, prefixes of degree, super, superman, arch, archduke, prefixes of attitude, cooperate, pro-communist. So here you have this. Notice prefixes, different type of prefixes. In suffixes, what do we have in suffixes? We have a lot, but I'm gonna give you just a list, a short list. Yeah, meant, for example, we use meant to make noun to verbs, from verbs to nouns. Develop, development. Govern, government. And notice meant. Oh yeah, the word finishing meant. It's a noun. Full, from nouns to adjectives. Notice here, from nouns to adjectives. Meaning, meaningful. Use, useful. Another suffix, ship. Nouns to nouns. Member, membership. So here, what's the difference? Noun to noun, we don't change it. Yes, we change. The one is a physical noun, and the other is abstract noun. Member is referring to a person, no? An integrant. When you add ship, it's referring to the idea. No? Membership is the idea. It's abstract, all right? Scholar, scholarship, no? So here you have a lot. Able, verbs, from verbs to adjectives. Accept, acceptable. Ness, as we have seen before, from adjectives to nouns. Sad, sadness. Happy, happiness. Hood, from noun to noun. Again, one is referring to a physical noun, the other is referring to an abstract noun. Child is referring to a person, a boy or a girl, no? Child. But when you say childhood, you are talking about the idea, no? Of this age, all right? Childhood, motherhood, brotherhood, all right? Neighborhood. This is very common, no? Neighbor, neighborhood. Et, from adjectives to adverbs. Mayor, majority. Like, notice, like, it's also a suffix. This word is very special because like is a verb, it's an adverb, and now you can see that it's also a suffix. From nouns to adjectives. Child, childlike. It means that you're behaving like a child. No? You say, oh, you're behaving like a child. So you can say you are a childlike. Notice here, you are behaving like a child. Or you behave like a child. So you can say you are a childlike. Because here it is an adjective. Oh, you are a childlike person. All right. So notice here, how do we use this suffix? No? Ish, from noun to adjective. Here we have English, England, English. And notice England, English. And also you use it with colors too, no? From adjective to adverbs. Greenish, reddish. I don't know if you have seen this before. Greenish, reddish. So it's a kind of red or a kind of green, no? Dark or light, no? Darker or lighter. This is greenish, reddish. Don't forget about it. So notice we have a lot. We have more. Now we have more suffixes. This is just an example. Notice that this is very important because with these kind of suffixes, we can deduct, the word, that type of word. Meant, remember, we usually use meant to make nouns. Full, adjectives. Sheep, nouns. Able, adjectives. Nest, noun. Hood, noun, abstract nouns. Iti, adverbs. Like, adjectives. Ish could be adjectives or adverbs. So notice how we can use these suffixes to make words. Remember, we're making words. So this is related to affixation. Remember, this is one of the process. The other process is compounding. We talked about this when we talk about different type of words, no? Words which are formed by one morpheme, other words by two morphemes, one free plus bound, and other words which are composed by two free morphemes, compound words, compounding. A process to form new words from two or more independent words of free morphemes. Remember, independent words of free morpheme, free lexical morphemes, most of the time. Compound nouns, for example, birdcage, gentleman, hangman, outpatient. So the second base is most often a noun, while the first can belong to a range of categories. Compound adjectives, dirt cheap, snow white, stress-free, skin deep, heartbroken. Notice something special with the compound adjectives, that you use a hyphen, all right? That you use a hyphen. Compound nouns, you don't use a hyphen. And compound verbs, babysit, blow dry, sleepwalk, hand wash. So here some of them are divided by a hyphen, others are written together. So notice this is compounding when we are going to join two words, independent words, or two free morphemes, free lexical morphemes, all right? Compound verbs with prepositions overreact, underachieve. Conversion. What is conversion? Notice here, and this is also very particular, not in English. It is also called zero derivational or zero morpheme. That's if you can look up in a book. This is also called, we use zero morpheme because it doesn't have a representation. The morpheme is there, but you cannot see it. It's the derivational process where a word changes its word class without the addition of an affix. So you don't use a prefix or suffix to change the type of word. This process uses a word from one category as a word from another category. Examples. Verb noun. You have here to love, love. Love, love. Sometimes it's used as a verb, sometimes it's used as a noun. It depends on the context, no, that you're using. All right? It depends, no? For example, when you say, I love eating chocolates, so you're using as a verb. But when you say, love is eternal, so you're using as a noun. But you don't use any affix. Notice, you don't use any affix. You don't use a prefix or suffix. It's the same word, but you change the type of word. I love eating. Love is a verb. Love is eternal. Now love is a noun. So we call this conversion. Remember, conversion. When you change the type of word, so you're using derivation, but with no morphemes, because it's the same morpheme, the same word. Just you change the type of word because of the context, not the environment. The environment that the word appears, or the morpheme appears, you change the type of word. The other one, adjective noun. Comic, the actor. Comic, the paper, no? The paper that you read, no? To love, to have fun. All right? Noun and verb. Bottle, bottle. Adjective and verb. Calm, to calm. Preposition and verb. Down, you use it to make, for example, phrasal verbs. No, you use it as a particle. Down, the preposition. No? So notice here. Also, we have a common example. No, the word book. Book. Teacher, is a noun. Book. But book, it is also a verb. No. Oh, I want to book a room, please. So I want to book a table, please, for two. When you go to a restaurant, no, and you use book. Notice, but you don't change, or you don't use any affixes, but you change the type of word. So we call this conversion. Zero derivational, and you're using the zero morpheme. Remember, this is called the zero morpheme because there is no representation of the morpheme to change the type of word. Now, the other one is reduplication. Reduplication is a process by which a morpheme or part of a morpheme is repeated, thereby creating a word with a different meaning or a different lexical category. Reduplication can be total or partial. English makes use of reduplication very sporadically. So it's not so used, it's not used often. But you can see some examples, no? Higgledy piggledy. So to emphasize about a pig, when you talked about a pig, holty tolty, is used just as an interjection, not surprise. Hocus pocus is also used here, and you're using reduplication. Yes, here says it's used very sporadically. Poo poo, ding dong, produced by the sound of the bell. Ding dong. The other one is suppletion. What is suppletion? It's the replacement of a regular form by an unrelated word. The famous irregular forms. No? Irregular. The verb is irregular. Or the adjective is irregular. Or the adverb is irregular. No? In order to make a comparative or superlative. No? We use some irregular forms. For example, the most common are the verbs, no? Go, go it, no, it's not possible, no? So go, the past simple of go, went. So notice you replace the regular form because the regular is ed. But here you don't use the ed. You change, notice you change completely, no? You change completely the word. So this is suppletion. Go, went. Or be. Be, is, are. In the present, in the past, was, were. Notice you are changing completely from the base word, that is be. It is changed in the present and simple. So we call this suppletion. But the ed that we make it in past simple, no? We use different forms. Walked, brushed, needed, ta, da, it. You're using different forms, and you're using different forms. And also with the adjectives, no? Good, comparative of good, gooder, no. You don't use the regular, no? The regular form is adding er, but this is irregular. So better. Bad, better, no. Worse. So we call this process, and this is a process, morphological process of suppletion. And this is the name. This is a morphological name, suppletion. Knowing by us, no, mostly by irregular forms. Oh, yeah, here you have one example. Yeah, blend or portmanteau. Blending. Blend, you know, blend means mix, no? To mix. The blender, for example, is the machine that you use to make juices, no? To blend, to mix the fruits, blend. This is mixing. So you're going to form by gluing one word with part of another in order to form a new word. So here you have just one example. Telethon, the famous, no? Television and marathon. Yeah, here you have to write here. Marathon, television and marathon. Biopic. Biopic is the combination of two words, biography and picture. Biopic. Brunch, this is very common. Brunch is the combination of breakfast and lunch. For example, oh teacher, today I didn't have any breakfast because I have to hurry. The time was over, I need to go to my job. So I just have a little lunch. So it means that you're having a brunch because it's the combination of your breakfast and your lunch, not together. You're having breakfast and lunch together. So you're having a brunch, all right? Breakfast plus lunch, brunch. Camcorder is the combination of camera and recorder. Smog, the combination of smoke and fog. So notice we're mixing parts of one word to another word, and we created a new one. The most common nowadays is the internet. International network. Internet. This is the name, all right? Oh, marathon. Here it is. Marathon. Not television plus marathon, telethon. Motel is the combination of motor and hotel. No, the motorway or highway. No, remember the motorway or highway. A hotel that is in the highway or motorway. This is a motel. Initialism. The initialisms are words which consist of letters which are produced separately. The letters are taken from their initials. SMS, short message system, H&M, Henson Morris, or this famous shampoo, no? H&S, HS, Head and Shoulder. No, when we go to the store, we say, please give me H&S, no? Deme un HS. Now this is initialism, Head and Shoulders. Acronyms. Words which are formed from the first letters of a group of words that designate one concept and are pronounced, notice, are pronounced as simple words together or a string of utterances. Usually, but not always, are capitalized. It's, notice you don't say AIDS, no, you say it's. This is the difference with initialism. Initialism, you pronounce letter by letter. SMS, H&M, letter by letter. But in acronyms, we use also the initial letters, but they are pronounced as a whole word together, all right? It's. You don't say AIDS, no, it's. Autoimmune deficiency syndrome, no? In Spanish, it is mostly known as SIDA, no? In English, it's. Oh, the other very common. In Spanish, we call ovni, but in English, can you tell me how do you know ovni, or how do we call ovni in English?
UFO.
UFO, UFO means an identified flying object. And this is an acronym, and it's pronounced together. You don't say UFO, no. Say UFO as a single word, no? As a single word. This is an acronym. Another NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Mission, NASA. Scuba, no, scuba diving, the famous sport. Scuba, what is scuba? Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. No, this is a tank. The air tank is called scuba. All right? Scuba diving. Here you have the sport. No, scuba diving. When you dive into the water. No, this is scuba diving. And this is an acronym. But you pronounce it together. The initial words, the initial letters, sorry, the initial letters are pronounced together as a simple word. This is the difference with the initialism. Initialism, you also take the initial letters, but you pronounce in a separated way, letter by letter. In an acronym, together. Don't forget about it. And here we're going to finish with this. This is the stress shift. This is very important. We talked about this in phonology. When we change the type of word by changing the stress of a syllable. No affixes added to the base, but the stresses shift from one syllable to another. Shift, remember, is change. When you change the stress, shift. With the stress shift comes a change in category. So you change the stress and you change the category, the type of word. From nouns to verbs. Combine, combine. Notice combine, it's a noun. Combine, it's a verb. So you change the stress. A noun, the stress is in the first syllable. And if it is a verb, the stress is in the second syllable. Combine. Implant, implant. Notice you are changing the stress. Implant, first syllable. Implant, second syllable. It's a verb. Concrete, concrete. Concrete, concrete. Abstract, abstract. Abstract, abstract. So here you have more examples, no? Record, record. Record, record. No? The noun and the verb. And notice here how we are going to change. And notice here we are changing the type of word. We are creating other word because it's a different word from noun to verb just by changing the stress. We change the stress and we change the type of the word. So here we have more processes of how to make words, but I want to show you here the most important, no, that we usually used in order to create words. No, this is similar, as I told you before, this is similar to the phonological processes. No, phonological processes, we have elision, gemination, assimilation, linking, insertion, and so on. But these are the most principal because we have more. The same happens here. The purpose here is to show you the principal processes, no? Because there are more processes, but the principal processes in order to make or create words in English. No? For example, there is another one that is loaning. Loaning is when you borrow some words from another language. Nowadays it's getting so used because now we are in a globalized world and we adapt many cultures, many words from different languages. No, nowadays it's getting so used. This is another process. This is another process to make words. Another process could be also back shift. When you reduce the word doctor, doc, veterinary, vet, you're reducing. No? Also, this is called clipping. No, when you reduce that type of the word and you're creating a new word. So notice, as you can see here, we have a lot of processes in order to create words, and this is very important. Well, I think that time is over, so sorry for the interaction. My laptop was off. I didn't intend to count my battery was completely off, so I have to recharge it again quickly. So I think we have completed all the steps, all the topics related to morphology. No, as I told you before, morphology is the analysis of how we are going to make words, and it's very important to analyze it because you can increase your vocabulary. If you can manage the uses of the morphemes, the affixes, prefixes, suffixes, you can increase your vocabulary to use it and to understand. This is very important. You could recognize words and you can apply different words. When you say, oh, sad, 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 you can say it unhappy, unhappiness. So notice that you're creating more and more words using these morphemes or suffixes or prefixes. Well, I think it's time to go. It's a pleasure to be with you. So here, that's all about this session of today. Please take care a lot. Maybe we could see soon, in another program, maybe in another courses. Then we are going to have some news about it. Try to arrange with the coordinator about this course. But sometimes remember that in order to open courses, we need people to open it. And if there are so many people, it's a little complicated. It's a little complicated, but if you can talk to the coordinator, so you can do it. Now, for me, there's no problem. So if you could coordinate it, I'm here to have more sessions with you. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Teacher, I
Take
have
care a
a
lot. Bye bye.